government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
Father, before I begin, bless me, Father, for I'm about to sin. America, I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, one nation, indivisible, under God, for real. And Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys. Senators here. Chuck, stand up, Chuck. Let him see you. Oh, God love you. What am I talking about? I tell you what, you're making everybody else stand up, though, pal. Thank you very, very much. I tell you what, stand up for Chuck. The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, from Charlotte, another line going from in Florida down to Tampa of Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him. The idea that Los Angeles and what am I doing here? For two reasons. One, you won't be safe in Joe Biden's America. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. Let's be clear. I hear it all the time. Cumulative, I can play for the programs many times over. Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys. Let me start off with two words. Made in America. Made in America.
I can't help myself. Oh no, I think I have to add that intro. I think I have to edit the intro to make it so it doesn't make me laugh so damn hard. What's up, beautiful? What's up, Vicky? Good to see you. Glad you're here. I swear there has to be something that I can do to that to make it not so hilariously funny for me to break out laughing for the next minute and a half before. Hey, Erish, what's up? What's up? Good to see you. So, digging around today, kind of looking around, and I'm like, there's a thing coming up with Trump. He's gonna hold a little whatever get together, dilly dally rally, whatever he wants to call it, in South Dakota. So I thought it would be interesting. What the flock over on the Rumble side? Yes, there you go. So basically, what I was going to do is, because I know there's a rally coming up, I'm going to run last night's show that I didn't do. I'm gonna go through the 40 plus tabs that I had open for last night. I'm not going to cover all of it in depth. I'm just going to kind of, because I know that I don't have 4 hours before Trump shows up. So then, about 2 hours from now, when that starts, I'm going to shut off the YouTube side. We'll go Rumble exclusive for the Trump rally. We'll watch the Trump rally. I'll open that up. I know that Beautiful said that she would join me for sure. Anybody else that's willing or wanting to join me for that particular, you're more than welcome. Hit me up in DMs through Discord, and I will throw links at you to do that. I haven't heard what is exactly happening with game night. I don't know if there is a game night, if there's anything set up for game night. That being said, because I have no clue, I will do a Friday night open mic later on tonight at some point in time, where you'll most likely see Vicky, as well as I believe Fast Group said that he wanted to show up. Beautiful probably be there. Really don't know who all will show up. You might be greatly surprised on what kind of party does show. That being said, let's kick it off here. Let's go through as much of this I possibly can. Now, I was looking at some news today, so there is some updated stuff. This isn't all yesterday's news. I do have a few things for today. Not as much as I'd like to have it for today, but I wanted to still try giving it a little bit for what it was. At this point, I just warned Trump to stay away from Dealey Pizza or Dealey Plaza. Oh, I thought you said pizza. I'm like, what are you talking about? Dealey Plaza? Maybe. I think he needs to really seriously watch himself, and we'll get into more of Trump. Because I do have something about him to go through. World news wise, a couple of interesting ordeals. They're projecting U.S. considering assassination of Niger coup leaders. As far as that goes, this is a Moscow that's saying that the United States is potentially going to do this. They greatly could do that. It could be something that we could be pay attention to as this ordeal continues. Nigeria, as we've covered several times, is one of the richest areas for uranium. The leader that was in play for the longest time was World Economic Forum. This new coup is not. So as far as that goes, you could see why everybody, most every other government would be interested in shutting that down and going after this particular group to stop their coup for what it is. Not like the United States hasn't been with everybody else's coup as far as that goes. I've not paid a lot of attention since he's been out of office. But does he still have his personal bodyguard close to him over the Secret Service? Yes, he still has his own detail. He's had his own detail for the longest time, and he's not going to stop having his own detail. He's supposed to have Secret Service, but I would almost assume that this current administration has stopped any Secret Service from actually following him, and he'd probably have his own. Didn't a 3-letter person get caught up in the Haiti assassination? Yeah, I think they did. So as far as this goes, to think about both sides of that, to see them, whether they did or not, is I don't remember. As far as this one goes, for them to project that this could be a thing to come, could be interesting in itself to pay attention to. If these coup leaders end up all of a sudden unalived for what it is. Yeah, he did not trust his own Secret Service agents. He did not. We'll get into more of that, I promise. So then, famous billionaire faces arrest. So actually, before I move on, hold on. There's a couple of things that I had for newer news. I just want to be sure that I'm not going too far I'd like to keep myself in certain areas, certain countries. So this is Ukrainian billionaire behind Volodymyr Zelensky's rise to power. Ukraine has been arrested after being labeled the big fish of prosecutors combating corruption of the war-torn country. Billionaire Ihor Kolomoisky. I really hate how they have some really long. It's probably Komolsky. For as far as that goes, was arrested over the weekend in Ukraine authorities in a whole host of fraud and money laundering charges, according to the New York Times. The crackdown comes amid speculation that Ukraine is allowing rampant bribery and corruption at the highest level of government to continue. The tycoon gave Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky his first big break in television, supporting him for presidency. Now, he is being taken down in the very same man who supported due to corruption. Komolsky is also believed to have funded extremist private militia armies. Komolsky is worth about $1.7 billion and is among Ukraine's top 5 richest individuals, according to Zero Hedge. He has his paws in a lot of pies, including banking, oil, and media, but has wealth and influence evidently without sufficient to protect him during the growing crackdown in Ukraine. The Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, issued a statement on Saturday asserting that Komolsky, who is referred to as a de facto owner of large financial industrial group, had attempted to launder over $500 million in Ukrainian hryvnias, or $13.5 million, by transferring it abroad while using the infrastructure for banking institution controlled by him. So this guy here with the very white hair compared to the rest, he's the guy that's being looked at. He's the guy that they're going after. So this is Komolsky is ordered to court to pretrial detention for 2 months while the investigation is conducted. His bail is set at a staggering $14 million, and he has decided not to pay it and appeal instead. I mean, $14 million, how $1.7 billion is his worth? $14 million, I mean, might be worth it, but at the same time, to go ahead and pay your way out to still potentially be left to sit, in the long run, might be not worth the $14 million. It seems like an amazing amount of money to think about. Suspicions of corruption and embezzlement have dogged Mr. Komolsky for years. In 2017, he left Ukraine for Switzerland and Israel after the government of then President Petro Poroshenko seized the bank he co-owned and accused him of large-scale fraud and threatened to destabilize Ukraine's economy. He returned in 2019 after Mr. Zelensky's defeat of Mr. Poroshenko, raising fears that his ties to the new president could help him regain his economic and political clout. The media is now painting this high-profile prosecution that proves Zelensky is getting tough on corruption. Zero Hedge reported that. And guess who was degrees? What's up, Fast Group? Good to see you. Degrees of separation away from Hunter Biden related to shady Burisma relationships. Besides being connected to the Burisma energy giant, Hunter Biden did business with Igor Komolsky's bank. The Ukraine president also just gave his own defense minister the boot as well. This week, Parliament will be asked to make a personal decision. I've decided to replace the Minister of Defense of Ukraine. This guy has gone through more than 550 days of full-scale war. As for the dismissed defense minister, that guy was in the center of the anti-graft probe into the military's paying inflated prices of imported items, sometimes at triple or more the cost. The profits in which are believed to have lined the pockets of top military officials. There's also a recent recruiting scandal where top military recruiters were given large bribes to allow individuals to avoid conscription. So it's kind of interesting that they're going after this guy for his dealings, but they don't care about the other two that were potentially involved with what they're pushing for. It kind of sad to see them going after billionaires for what they're worth. Hey, Fast Group, don't forget tonight when I hold the open mic, don't make sure that you're available, and we'll be sure to throw you a link for that open mic. That will happen tonight. So then, Mexico set to elect first female president. What time? Haven't quite figured that out yet. I'll let you know here within a short bit. I gotta see how long it's gonna be. I'm just gonna do this for about 2 hours. I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna watch Donald Trump's rally with a couple of people. You could join with that if you really wanted to. Otherwise, the open mic will probably be a couple hours after that. So I'm not really sure because I have to make sure that I can go and eat afterward. So uh, pay attention. I'll talk to you. We'll get this information to you. As far as this goes, Mexico set to elect first female president. I'm not opposed to female presidents. I'm really not. Don't know enough about this particular lady, if she's even worth it, or what she's really a part of. It says women have been chosen for candidates in both the governing Moreno party and the opposition coalition. Moreno announced on Wednesday that their nominee is former Mexico City mayor and climate scientist. She part of the 98%, or is she an actual scientist? Claudia Scheinbaum. She is now face off against Senator this person, like Xochitl Galvez, a businesswoman elected for office in 2018. So let's do something here real quick before we move on. Let's go ahead and let's look up Claudia here real quick. Let's go ahead and look up Claudia here real quick. Watch how this happens. And then add World Economic Forum after. See if that comes up with something. World Economic Forum's post, Claudia is by far the worst mayor Mexico City has had in the whole history. I'm Mexican. I know what I'm talking about. Kind of sounding like Claudia might be a shoe-in. Might just be the shoe-in for what it's worth. Really, World Economic Forum usually has a tendency to win over almost every single race without thought, without an attempt. So, we'll be paying attention to see what happens with Mexico. Again, I'm going to cut through this as fast as I possibly can because this is yesterday's news. This was yesterday's show that I didn't put on. Inside story about how the Navy spent billions of dollars on a little crappy ship. This story originally published out of ProPublica. In July 2016, warships from more than 24 nations gathered off the coast of Hawaii and Southern California to join the United States in the world's largest naval exercise. The United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Japan, South Korea, and others sent hundreds of destroyers, aircraft carriers, and warplanes. They streamed in long lines across the ocean, symbols in power and prestige. What's up, Clumsy? The USS Freedom had its own special place in the Armada. It was one of the new class of vessels known as literal combat ships. The U.S. Navy had built them as technical marvels, small, fast, and light, able to combat enemies at sea, hunt mines, and seek submarines. In reality, the LCS was well on the way of becoming one of the worst boondoggles in the military's long history of buying overpriced and underperforming weapon systems. Two of the $500 million ships had suffered embarrassing breakdowns in previous months. The Freedom's performance during the exercise show off the ability to destroy underwater mines was meant to rejuvenate the ship's record for the world stage. The ship was historically important too. It was the first LCS built and the first in the water commissioned just 8 years prior. But like the LCS's program reputation, the Freedom has been in bad shape, dozens of pieces of equipment on board being undergoing repairs. Training crews for the new class of ships had proven more difficult than anticipated. The sailors aboard the Freedom had not passed the exam, demonstrating their ability to operate some of the ship's most important systems. It seriously sounds like a waste of money, all, and for us to continuously spend more and more money to repair something that is just a little crappy ship, as they state it. This is from military.com, calling their own Navy ships crappy ships. Really makes you wonder why we would continue to fund such a thing. They can talk about this, but still can't find the billions lost before 9/11. Just saying. I'm sure they know where those billions of dollars went. I'm sure they do. I'm sure there's nothing new. Yeah, I don't know about felony convictions for Navy officers who don't really care. Some of this stuff, like I said, is going to get swept over. It's not going to get read. We don't have enough time to go through all this. This one was actually from this morning. This one's from this morning here. So this is Yellen says, U.S. is monitoring carefully China's economic woes, but sees no significant impact on U.S. economy. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said on Friday that the United States is keeping a careful eye on the economic situation in China, but there's no reason to worry that it will have a significant impact in the United States. Speaking of press briefing the sidelines of the G20 summit in India, Ms. Yellen said China faces a variety of short and long-term economic challenges. She highlighted low consumer spending and long-standing problems with the property sector of China. We've been monitoring carefully, including the less of a pickup in consumer spending than had been anticipated in the aftermath of coup restrictions, as well as long-standing issues with respect to the property sector and debt related to that. In longer term, of course, population growth is now turning negative and labor force is beginning to shrink. So we see China's growth is slowing over time. However, Ms. Yellen still believes that China has considerable room to maneuver in addressing these challenges. Hence, she predicts that there won't be a very significant direct impact in the United States. Countries in East Asia are more likely to be affected by the slowdown, and it's something that we are keeping an eye on. So says the magic mushroom lady. She gets nothing right. She really doesn't get much right at all. To hell and back, hey, Koolfrogg mods and army. We'll have to watch later, but wanted to come by and say hi and hit the thumbs up. Have a great weekend. If you're still with us, be sure to pay attention as we will move ourselves over to Rumble after about 2 hours to watch Trump. And then we'll be back tonight for an open mic. You may be surprised who will actually be there for that. Otherwise, good to see you. Glad you're here. Anybody else that's around, go ahead. Talk to us. Talk to us. We'll talk to you. We'll hold conversations with you as we go through this. This is the world's second largest economy, hasn't significantly rebounded since the end of the nation's zero COVID policy, and consumer spending isn't showing any signs of recovery. Baffling many economists, the evidence is mounting that China's economy is in worse state than previously thought. One concern is that years of central bank stimulus promoted waves of infrastructure development, roads, airports, bridges, and power in cities throughout China. As a result, local government took out huge loans to pay for these expensive and at times wasteful projects. Now Beijing is trying to manage the excess debt created by this bubble, which is on the verge of bursting, according to China experts. This massive debt is one of the reasons why the country is in jeopardy, and it poses a huge threat to the economic stability of Beijing. is running out of options. Economists believe that these challenges may have ramifications beyond China, particularly in emerging countries. I don't think that China is really going to have as many problems as they're trying to project them having. I can't see uh, their BRICS model tanking right away. It's going to take some time for that to take effect, as well as having many other countries getting ready to join the BRICS within the next few months. It should be something to pay attention to and watch to see that China really doesn't have the stability, economic stability issues that they're supposedly saying they have. I don't see it. You got to prove it to me. You got to prove it to me. I don't see that being the truth. Uh, G20 summit to begin tomorrow. This is leaders of the world's richest and most powerful countries gathering in India's capital of New Delhi, the 9th and the 10th for the summit of Group of 20, where they will discuss the wide ranges of issues from climate change to economic security. Some of the stuff that they'll talk about should be fun. If the next 2 days of G20 stuff should be fun to pay attention. I should be joining Froggy on Rumble after YouTube thing is done. Yes, Beautiful said that she would be joining me for that. It should be a good time. So, that was Janet Yellen, if anybody cared about that. I think most people, if you didn't pay attention to or watch Tucker Carlson's thing with Larry Sinclair about Barack Obama, maybe, just maybe, should go watch that and pay attention to what was being said. Really sounds like Barry might be Barry and Larry. It sounds like Barry, himself may actually just be confused. Confused. Let's use that word. The G peoples never come to my house. Yeah, right. They can come to my house. Let's go. Let's go. I'll tell them all exactly how I feel. I'm going to take this down just for a second. Okay, so I gotta remember all these other these these other things that are out here. So, U.S. reveals number of troops stationed in Poland. Great. There you go. Let them all know. Let them all know exactly how many people are stationed. Poland's security is guaranteed by more than 10,000 U.S. troops stationed in its territory. Brzezinski, Washington's ambassador to Warsaw, has said, adding that the joint efforts to support Ukraine will strengthen the country's ties. The envoy lauded the current state of American-Polish relations in an interview with Pospolita, a newspaper published on Friday. His father and late U.S. National Security Advisor Brzezinski was known as Russia hawk and strong advocate anti-Soviet containment. I believe that never before in history have Poland and America been so connected. Our common cause is to support the people of Ukraine. Of course it is. Of course it is. I doubt it. I doubt that Poland really cares that much about what's going on in Ukraine, as they're probably more concerned about Belarus, trying to do things. I don't see. I really seriously, they need to stop. If they think that there's so many people that are so into Ukraine, I think they need to pay attention to what side they're really siding with, as those Azov battalion Yazis might just be the ones that they don't really want to back, and they might just think about backing with and siding with the other side. Just saying, let's fuck around and find out and see how far this really goes. He revealed that more than 10,000 U.S. troops are currently stationed throughout Poland. This is not coincidence. Hand in hand, the Polish soldiers, we are carrying out the mandate of U.S. President Joe Biden. Every inch of NATO territory, including Poland, of course, is safe and protected. Sure it is. The U.S. and Poland cooperate militarily as closely as allies can, with Warsaw receiving top-of-the-line defense equipment as an ally, including M1 Abrams tanks, Apache helicopters, F-35 fighters, and HIMARS, HIMARS missile launchers. Brzezinski's comments came after Polish Prime Minister Morawiecki revealed on Thursday that the country's defense budget had quadrupled from $37 to $155 billion since 2015, when the standoff between Russia and the West was just picking up steam. Russia has repeatedly criticized NATO for increasing its military presence on the borders, warning that Moscow interprets such actions as threat. That stance has been echoed in Poland's neighbor and Russian ally, Belarus, which has accused Warsaw of stoking tensions in the region by sending additional troops to the border. A standoff between the two countries heated up last month after Poland significantly increased security on the Belarusian border. Polish officials cited suspected attempts of migrants to illegally cross into the country and alleged the operatives of the Russian defense contractors Wagner Group were trying to infiltrate the country. Belarusian President Lukashenko has denied the Wagner Group, Wagner PMC was planning to attack Poland. However, he signaled that he has no intention of protecting EU from migrants, citing the bloc's reluctant to cooperate with Minsk in the matter. Why they felt it necessary to point out the fact that there's 10,000 U.S. troops sitting in Poland, being ready to protect Poland for what it's worth, might be not necessary. To point that out is 10,000 troops really isn't much. It really isn't much. But maybe enough in their minds to help protect Poland, for them to be stationed in Poland. I guess okay. Almost done with the world news, and this is an article from today. Armenia can't join NATO, ruling party MP. Let's hope not. Why would they allow that? Why would they even think that would even be a deal? Armenia seems to be more tied to Russia than anything. Armenia is open to security cooperation from other nations, but has no path toward NATO membership. The MP from the country's ruling party has claimed. Sergis Kandanyan made the comments of diplomatic tensions between Yerevan and the treaty allied Moscow. I see no opportunity for NATO membership for technical or political reasons. The Armenian government has never expressed a wish for membership. Why this article is even existent for them to even go to the point of saying such a thing is ridiculous in itself. There's nothing that ever led us to believe that Armenia would be somebody to even think about for NATO membership. And NATO, it doesn't seem like Armenia wants to be part of NATO anyway. I'm really kind of surprised that they made this be a thing that we need to think about or even talk about. It's disturbing in itself. So I have a couple of articles at the very end of this or whatever that are going to get used sooner than later. Fulton County grand jury recommended charges against Senators Lindsey Graham and two other former GOP senators. The grand jury in Fulton County, Georgia, has recommended criminal charges for Lindsey Graham as well as Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, according to the report for released Friday. Uh, why? Why do we need to continue to add more and more people to the batch? Because the original 19 that were Trump and the 18 others, they all pled not guilty. Every single one of them to not proceed with arraignments. Right straight out. So now let's put some other people at play. They did say that there are 31 unnamed potentials. Well, here you go. You got 3 of them. You got 3 more that they're trying to add to the list. They're trying to add these people to the top of the list and be like, oh, okay, that didn't work. Nobody pled guilty. And they know that anything that they say isn't going to stick. So adding people like this to see how, Lindsey Graham, I mean, he's a rhino in himself, but at the same time, he's not going to go and being like, oh yeah, no, let's take care of the rest of them. Let's remove that. He's not going to do that. For them to add these 3 people is really kind of dumb in itself. My Georgia, Atlanta is very ill right now. Pray for us. Oh yeah, we'll be praying for you there, Squad Bob, for sure. We just don't want Poland to bomb anybody. I'm pretty sure. I don't think Poland should be bombing anybody. For them to add these 3 people to this list is disturbing in itself. Fanny needs to stop. She needs to be stopped. There's something that's just not right about this whole ordeal when it comes down to it. So then you got Peter Navarro. Peter Navarro is convicted of contempt of Congress. As his former Donald Trump trade advisor, Peter Navarro has been convicted of contempt of Congress for not complying with a subpoena from the House Select Committee investigation in the J6 attack of the Capitol. It says Navarro is the second ex-aide of former president to be prosecuted for the lack of cooperation in the committee. Steve Bannon was convicted last year in 2 contempt counts. Bannon's case is currently on appeal. Navarro pledged to appeal based on the executive privilege issues. Stop it. Stop going after your political rivals. Doing this is setting a bad precedence. It's going to do nothing good for anybody whatsoever. For anyone to think that this is going to be a good ordeal in the long run is wrong. Is wrong. There's nothing that's going to come out of this, because he's going to turn around the second that Trump becomes president again, and he's going to do the same thing. He's going to turn around and he's going to weaponize the DOJ in his favor, and he's going to continue to go after his political rivals as well, which then in turn turns the next person and the next person and the next person to do the same exact thing over and over again. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt everybody and everything that has anything to do with this government. It's as sad as it is. There's so many that just don't want to, pay attention to that. They'd rather just continuously go after each other. Some of these are like I said, this is last night's show, so some of these are kind of old news stuff that we don't really need to rehash again. Okay, so there was a couple of things, and I just want to be sure that we're going to add this to this. Okay, so, and then, yeah, perfect. Here you go. Kamala Harris assures reporters that she's prepared to take over for Biden if needed. I think we've all heard this, and there's a bunch of us that have gone to the point of believing that yeah, okay, she says she's prepared to take over. Is she really prepared to take over? Is she the person that we should even be looking at to take over? I don't think we should. I think we need to look past it and not go down this route of even thinking about it. I think we need to stop and really really take it in for what it is. So if you remember from 2 days ago, there was a thing that came out that said anybody that runs against her would be looked as being racist for running against her, that they shouldn't run against her in any way, shape, or form. So then here you go. Gavin Newsom's, yeah, never mind. Hold on a second. Let's get this thing to go away. I hate these ads that pop up in PM. They're really ridiculous. All right, here you go. Gavin Newsom says Kamala Harris is naturally the one lined up to succeed to Joe Biden. Yeah, naturally. Way to go, creepy Newsom. Thank you for taking the back seat to this for now, and assuming that you're not going to have anything to do with any of it in the long run. You know, them Californians have the tendency to stick together for what it is. So during the recent interview at NBC's Meet the Press, California Governor Gavin Newsom stated in no uncertain terms that he believed Kamala Harris was Joe Biden's natural successor in the president of the United States. Appearing to dismiss the possibility of throwing his own hat in the ring, Newsom said he fully supported Biden-Harris ticket going into 2024, adding that he was confident the current leadership team would defeat their Republican counterparts and win re-election. Filing deadlines haven't passed. If President Biden doesn't run, why shouldn't we consider you a likely candidate? Chuck Todd asked. I think the vice president is naturally the one lined up. We need to move past this notion that he's not going to run. President Biden is going to run and looking forward to getting reelected. Newsom slammed Democrats and their supporters with wallowing at the thought of Biden seeking a second term, claiming he firmly believes that the current commander-in-chief has what it takes to come out on top. Am I supposed to interpret that comment about the vice president that if there's some reason the president chose not to run, that at this point everyone rallies around her? Yep, that's what they're going to do. They're going to rally around her to make it be that she becomes the first woman president of the United States. The ignorance to go along with this is beyond. I really seriously don't like it, and I hope that we can wake up to the situations. And though they're going to rally around her, to look at our constituents that are rallying around her and vote them out. The Biden presidency has proven we could elect a monkey or parrot and the agenda will still be secure. Beto the parrot in 2024. My left nut could do a better job. Just saying. It's Biden-Harris administration. Newsom replied, adding, maybe I'm a little old-fashioned about presidents and vice presidents. During a recent interview with Associated Press, Harris was asked if she felt prepared to step into the role and president if necessary, with the reporter citing Biden's age. Every vice president understands that when they take the oath that they must be very clear about the responsibility they may have to take over the job of being president. I am no different. Harris has faced growing disapproval during her time as vice president. However, Democratic strategists and allies have repeatedly shut down any suggestion that she's not fit for the job and chalking up criticism to racism alongside a slew of other conversations ending terms. Really seriously, let's hope that this doesn't become a deal. We don't really want Kamala Harris there, and for Gavin Newsom to speak up to the issue and say, "Oh, I'm totally behind her." Yeah, I bet you are. I bet you are. I bet you'll do anything. You'll do anything to become her vice. I bet he will. I bet he would try super hard to do that. And if something happens to our current president, as it be, would it end up being anything different? And I've lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. I lost my train of thought. So then I really hope that Newsom isn't somebody to be paying attention to for presidency. I don't want him there. I really don't. Um, what was this? Oh, sure. We can watch this real quick. I got to pay attention to the time. I got to pay attention to what else is actually coming up because we're going to move ourselves over. What's up, Jacob Castro? I see you over there on the Rumble side. If Biden is viable in 2024, why do we consider him viable? Isn't viable in 2024? Why do we consider him viable now? I mean, he's not really viable in my opinion. I think that there's a more to it, and I don't think that we should really put him in play for what it's worth. I'm just gonna have to leave this here, I guess. Sorry about the Rumble side right now or whatever. We are going to move ourselves over to Rumble exclusively once the Trump rally starts. Once the Trump rally starts, and I'm going to bring other people in. It should be fun. Should be fun for what it is. Can I help you? Yeah. Awesome. Good job. The whole thing. Awesome. Tadpole. He's so good. He's so funny. So it's really a little minute and 15-second bit here from Nancy Pelosi.
American people see Joe Biden's mental and physical health. They see it every day on their TV screens. They are drawing conclusions. A clear majority say he is too old. He should not run again. And that's Democrats as well as Republicans.
And if you ask those Democrats, they support Joe Biden. They're not supporting somebody else because Joe Biden is old. Joe Biden is wise. He has knowledge. He has a beautiful vision for America. He has knowledge of the issues, therefore judgment and wisdom. He has strategic thinking about getting things done. That's why his presidency has been so successful on the domestic front. He has empathy and cares about working class families and
your hand signals don't really go
to the
along
American
with
people, and that is
the
what
words that are coming out your mouth.
I didn't hear you say any complimentary thing about anything that people have said about the president or our performance as elected officials. We don't care about the negative. We're about the positive. It's not about fear. It's about hope. And you'll see 15 months from now, Joe Biden reelected as president of the United States with great pride.
Did anybody else melt in that instance of having to listen to whatever it is that she was trying to say to us? It really disturbingly scary to believe that she really seriously believes that this is going to be a thing. So do we remember? We remember now. This is Nancy Pelosi that we're speaking of. You know, she spoke about Joe Biden. Now, all of a sudden today, she decides that she's going to do something that's unnecessary. She said that she was going to retire. We all heard it. 83-year-old Nancy Pelosi announces run to retain House seat. Let's hope so. What the flock that they're setting Joe in the Special K to lose. I let's hope. Let's hope. On Friday, California Democrat Nancy Pelosi announced that she's running for re-election in 2024. Pelosi announced on X, now more than ever, our city needs us to advance San Francisco's values and further our recovery. Our country needs America to show the words that our flag is still there with liberty and justice for all. That is why I'm running for re-election and respectfully ask for your vote. Fuck you, Nancy Pelosi. Get out of here. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Nobody ever wanted that. This 83-year-old decrepit, nasty old woman who's done nothing but destroy this wonderful nation that we all love all so much, decides to go back on her word that she's retiring to go ahead and run yet one more time to prove that age isn't the issue. To prove that age isn't the issue. That's the whole reason that she's going to do this. There's no other reason whatsoever that she would do such a thing. It's so dumb. So damn stupid for her to even think that this is worth a damn. Stop it. Stop it. If California knows that it wants anything better for themselves, they'll not vote for this. They will not vote for this decrepit, wretched old lady. So then I haven't really paid attention to everything today. Not everything. This is, like I said, a lot of this is from yesterday.
Says he cares about people like you. 33% say they're proud to have Biden as a president. Only 28% of Americans says that the president inspires confidence, Dana.
Wow, pretty incredible numbers there. David, please don't go anywhere because I want to get back to you in a minute. But first, I want to digest what David just showed us with CNN's Jeff Zeleny, CNN's Kristen.
We don't need to listen to all of them. We just needed that first bit. That first bit where you see applies to Biden, cares about people like you, proud to have as president. He's seriously, there's so many people that do not like this guy. There's so many people, and hopefully more and more people wake up to the issue for what it is. I'm gonna skip through a bunch of this real quick because now we're at an hour. We're gonna go for one more hour over here on the YouTube before Trump should be rally should be starting, and that's when we're gonna move ourselves directly to Rumble. We are on Rumble already. I know we're there, but we're gonna move directly to Rumble from the YouTube side. We will not stay here because I know better. Secret Service intervenes. Sudden arrest confirmed. Adam Mauser, 39, of Jacksonville, Illinois, took it a step further and reportedly threatened to unalive law enforcement and their families, including their children, if they tried to stop him, as he goes ahead and threatens the President of the United States of America. This isn't the stop. This isn't the way to go about this. This is not the way to go about this. Nobody should ever threaten the great, wonderful President of the United States in any way, shape, or form, anywhere. Even just saying it is wrong. So, for this guy to do just that, hopefully, more people can start doing better. Stupid me was sitting on the Rumble side. I'm going over there eventually within the next hour. Beautiful will be joining me for sure. Anybody else that wants to can. Cori Bush campaign threatens attorney filed complaints about payments to her husband. Of course she has something to say. Democrat Missouri Rep. Cori Bush has threatened a conservative attorney who filed complaints about her congressional campaign's payments to her husband. The Daily Caller learned. She has an issue. Mm-hmm. ID Crisis Hail Koolfrogg in chat 30 minutes before work. Nice to see you, brother. Nice to see you. Glad you're here. We're going to do a few things tonight. We're going to do this, and here about an hour, we're going to move ourselves over to Rumble and stay on Rumble. And then after we're done with that, at some point in time tonight, Fast Group should be joining me for sure, as well as others for an open mic. So when you get off work, pay attention. Pay attention. You can join us again. I enjoy your conversations. David Matrini, counsel of Cori Bush for Congress, wrote a letter Friday, and lawyer Dan Baker demanding that they retract complaints over Bush's payments to her husband that they filed on behalf of the committee to defeat the president. A conservative activist group opposed to President Joe Biden. There's the full letter to go along with it. We demand that you retract the complaints you have filed with a demonstrably false failure to do so or continued repetition of these false statements with knowledge that they are false and without merit may result in liability for your client. Matreon's letter reads, in addition, we believe that the continued assertion by you of these claims with absolutely no basis whatsoever in law or in fact with the not frivolous could well constitute a violation of Rule 3.1 of the Rules of Professional Conduct in District of Columbia Bar. Bush's Federal Election Commission filing from 2022 campaign cycle show that Courtney Merritt's, her husband, was paid more than $60,000 for security services despite him lacking the security license in St. Louis, where her congressional district is located, or in D.C. According to Fox News, Bush for Congress paid Merritt's for security services on 5 occasions from January to March. Be brought up on charges of yourself for going ahead and paying somebody that's not eligible to be your security detail, but you're going to go ahead and you're going to threaten, attorneys. Really? I think you need to look at yourself just a little bit closer, and maybe you're the one that's corrupt. Just maybe. Just maybe. Again, we're going to push through this. We're going to push through this as fast as we possibly can here. Wisconsin Republicans run into $4 million obstacle to impeach liberal Supreme Court justice. Wisconsin Democrats launch counterattack against Republicans threatening to impeach liberal state Supreme Court Justice Janet Protasiewicz, who over a case that could result in the court tossing GOP-drawn legislative maps. The Wisconsin Democratic Party introduces a $4 million defense effort on Wednesday to target GOP lawmakers who are pressuring Protasiewicz to recuse herself from hearing a lawsuit arguing the Republican-drawn legislative maps are unconstitutional. Republicans sound the alarm in the possible impeachment if she doesn't recuse herself from the case. Recuse yourself, take yourself out of it, and maybe you can save your career. Otherwise, it looks like potential impeachment for that Supreme Court justice. This is Darvo defend attack, reverse the role of victim and offender. Yes, for the Cori Bush thing. Yep, sounds like it. Creating a police state in California amends its 28th Amendment proposal to exempt cops. It says there's anything greasier than Newsom, who has gelled up hair and his penchant for gun control, Newsom, has proposed a 28th Amendment to implement gun control, and has called for an Article 5 convention of states to get into the amendment going. We have covered Newsom's shenanigans in depth in the past, but in case you missed it, here's the summary of the proposal. The 28th Amendment is permanently enshrined four broadly supported gun safety principles of the U.S. Constitution: raising the federal minimum age to purchase a firearm from 18 to 21, mandating universal background checks to prevent truly dangerous people from purchasing a gun that could be used in a crime. They're not purchasing their guns to use them in crimes. They're going to go take them and use them for as they wish. They're not going to get them from the store. They're going to get them out of the freaking trunk of the guy down the street. Instituting a responsible waiting period for all gun purchases. And I mean, I get some of it. Some of it, it's still red tape, and it goes against the Second Amendment. Any of it, I get some of it. Some of it can be okay, when it comes down to given reasonable wait periods and stuff. But at the same time, what happens when and I heard this argument, I believe on Discord within the last day or so, of what happens when the guys that's threatening my life is standing outside the window tomorrow, not 10 days or 12 days from now. There's things to think about when you're doing just this in stopping people, lawful adults, from being able to do what it is they wish. And then barring civilian purchases from assault weapons that serve no other purpose than to kill as many people as possible in a short amount of time. Weapons of war our nation's founders never foresaw. Assault weapons, again, the word in itself is ignorance. The word in itself is ignorance for you to even think that weapons, assault weapons are a thing. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of. And I don't like it. It was meant to make the second null and void. Yes, exactly. No wait period is reasonable when a psycho is threatening a woman. Assault weapons is a fake thing. Yep, assault weapons is a fake thing. It's ridiculous for us to even believe that word is even those words should even be put together in any way, shape, or form. It's dumb, ridiculous, and mundane in itself. As far as that goes, for Newsom to go ahead and try pushing for this 28th Amendment is okay, I guess. If you want to do that in your state, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to go along with you. You can see the modified language yourself under the Compare Versions tab on California Legislative Information website. This is B, impose a matter of national policy in following firearms regulations and prohibitions. Universal background checks and prerequisite to purchase or acquisition of firearms. A prohibition on sales, loans, and other transfers of firearms to those under 21 years of age, subject to limited expectations. A minimum waiting period after the purchase or acquisition of the firearm before that firearm may be delivered to a buyer or acquirer. A prohibition on the private possession, which has been scored out. Sale, loan, or transfer of assault weapons and other weapons of war to private civilians, and be it further. They're not weapons of war. Most ARs that you see in personals, people's homes in their own, are not weapons of war. They're not used for. They are civilian shotguns. The idiocy to go along with this is just that. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of them actually pushing for assault weapons to be banned over and over again. It's so dumb. Assault weapon weaponizing the First Amendment, making up words and changing definitions in order to attack the Second Amendment. not weapons of war, weapons of civil war. I mean, they're civilian guns, right? They're civilian guns. So as far as that goes, I'm with you on that. They're not weapons of war. AR-15s are perfect for women to fend off home invasions. Get wrecked, commies. I'm with you with that one, Jacob. Absolutely. I think it is these politicians want to ban people from having guns. We should ban them from having private security or using police for security at events. Steak knives are assault weapons. So are hammers. Okay. I just hit the word. The word needs to go away. Oh, what was this? Eric Adams gives must-hear speech surrendering in illegal immigration, ignores poem on statue. How long was it? 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Again, I'm trying to speed through this because I know I only have an hour left to go through all this. Does it just give us the speech? It does. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers, never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. One time we were just getting Venezuela. Now we're getting Ecuador. Now we're getting Russian speaking coming through Mexico. Now we're getting Western Africa. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they are going to come through the southern part of the border and come to New York City. And everyone is saying it's New York City's problem. Every community in the city is going to be impacted. We have a $12 billion deficit that we are going to have to cut since it's in this city is going to be impacted. Every service in the city is going to be impacted. All of us. So I say to you, as I turn it over to you, this is some of the most educated, some of the most knowledgeable, probably more than my commissioners and deputy commissioners and chiefs live in these communities. So, as you ask me a question about migrants, tell me what role you play. How many of you organized to stop what they're doing to us? How many of you were part of a movement to say, we're seeing that this mayor is trying to do, and they're destroying they're destroying New York City. It's going to come to your neighborhoods. All of us are going to be impacted by this. And I said it last year when we had 15,000. And I'm telling you now, when we have 110,000, the city we knew we're about to lose, and we're all in this together. All of us. Beautiful says this motherfucker makes me sick. I mean, it's. I'm with you. He is disturbing in himself, but the issue with him coming through and saying what he's been, how he feels about this issue of migrants inundating our nation through the southern border. He is right for concern. He is right for concern because that's what they're going to do. They're going to destroy New York City. They're going to destroy Chicago. They're going to destroy San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Minneapolis, any large city that's out there. They're going to destroy them by throwing multitude of people at them that they can't support. They can't support it. There's no way for them to support it. The only thing that these people can do is to go get jobs. Go get jobs and make something of themselves the way it was intended to come over here to the United States. But they're not given jobs. They're not given jobs. They're given handouts. They're given mass amount of money. They're given free IDs. They're given, the right to live in this nation without, even going through a basic civics test. There's nothing that's stopping them from ruining this country. So, I mean, I'm with you, but at the same time, even if welcome to the party, pal. I was once assaulted by a genetically altered electronic attack wasp. I'm pretty sure. Squad. I think that there's an issue of all the people that are coming from these 150 plus nations coming through the southern border to get the handouts that they're getting, to be allowed to continue to do so. It can be disturbing and can hurt things. I don't like it. I really don't. I keep on looking over because it's 48 minutes until this Trump rally starts. Not just a narrative, CNN host cuts off analyst who tries to claim migration issue is a narrative. So it's because I'm not going to do it any justice.
And so I think this is Mike Pence's attempt to sort of pull away from the pack and say, I'm actually not afraid. I'm willing to take him on. But the question is, again, the folks that supported him really actually do believe in that populism. They eat that up.
Yeah,
so how do you get support after that?
The idea that there's an inflection point and people need to decide, I just don't see where the decision hasn't already been made in the Republican Party right now. If you look at the poll, including our most recent polling, which on issue.
Okay, I'm going to stop that for a second. Beautiful said he should have been stronger at the start. I'm sure he was okay with it until it impacted New York City so hard. Being a Democrat himself, I can see where that would be a deal. As far as that goes, yeah, he should have. I agree with you. He should have put himself out there at the beginning and start complaining at the 10,000 before he hit the 110,000, and instead of being okay and calling himself a sanctuary city for what it was, should have maybe turned around and said, no, you're not allowed here. I don't want you here. And maybe should have gone after the president then and tried convincing him to go visit the southern border, that he still hasn't done.
Issue after issue after issue, people trust Trump and the Republican Party more than anybody else. Hasn't the decision been made on this conservatism versus populism?
I disagree with you on that.
Really?
I think it's still wet cement. I mean, are there macro trends that are favoring Donald Trump within sort of a hermetically sealed Republican Party that's polarized beyond where it's got the ballast of a lot of independent moderate voters? Yes, but we're still a long way from the first votes being cast. And there's a lot of time for people to make their case. And a lot of folks haven't tuned in yet. We're seeing some movement with Nikki Haley, for example, in the wake of the first debate that I think indicates the room to grow. For Pence to do this is tough because he was part of the administration, but it's a necessary voice because Trump's populism was always the opposite of conservatism.
Independent voters. You have keyed, we've been talking about President Biden, the poll numbers, what people are digging out in the crosstabs. Bobby's favorite topic throughout in these mornings, and you and our colleague Andrew has been focused on this as well. You know quite well. Why? What stood out to you in the independent voter?
I always look for the crosstabs on independent voters because these are the folks who decide elections, and this is what was so fascinating to me. First of all, Biden's in trouble with independents. He is underwater with independents, but it's important to put this in context. First of all, this poll had a lot of bad news on health and vigor. Look at just Biden inspires confidence, for example. Democrats are down 53%. That's bad. Independents, 25%. That's anemic. But then look at his overall favorability. Biden's at 31% among independents. That's really bad. Donald Trump, though, is at 26%. That's even worse. And when you ask independent voters in this poll, which comes closer to a view among independents, any Democrat better than Trump, 47%. Trump better than any Democrat, 27%. So I'm not, this is the old Reagan line. There must be a pony in there somewhere for the Biden team. There's the silver lining somewhere. But pay attention to the independent numbers, and they'll show you a more accurate sense of where things are going on the ground.
Phil and I have been trying to figure out, and we're going to keep trying to figure out every day. I think the White House is trying to figure out why Natasha Biden is doing so poorly when all the legislative accomplishments, the economy, most of the numbers are doing well, despite some of the inflation points that are really important. this divide. And we were talking about it a few minutes ago. But listen to New York City Mayor Eric Adams Democrat, talk about what's going on in New York City right now on immigration. And then I want to talk about sort of the bigger challenge ahead. Here he is.
We're going to skip this because we just...
Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this.
Okay. It's only another 10
This
seconds.
issue
He doesn't really go that far into
will
it.
destroy New York City. Destroy New York City.
Brett Stevens in his column we've been talking about points out it's not just a border crisis, it's a national crisis. It's one of so many things that has people, so many Americans, Democrats included, down on Biden.
Right. I think what Republicans have successfully done is to make immigration their issue. Whether their proposed solutions are actually solutions is a different thing, but showing the concern for it somehow gives the impression that they actually have a solution for it. And I think what Joe Biden often struggles with is that narrative, right? Being able to reverse a narrative of failure and struggle and sort of reaction to crisis
Not
versus
just a narrative.
being
Mayor Adams has
proactive.
called on the Biden White House over and over again for more action and more funding and more things to do.
Right. And I'm saying that this is about not reacting to crisis, but coming out and saying, this is how we own this problem, right? This is what our policy proposals are. And Donald Trump, as simple as he can be, his simple build a wall, right? That resonated with people because it was some sort of solution. If you were to ask the average American voter, how do Democrats approach immigration? I'm not sure they could tell you how Democrats approach it differently.
That's a failure of policy, not just communications, but this is an area where Democrats do need to lead and offer up an alternative vision. Now, we all know the real answer is comprehensive immigration reform. Right, which Biden has supported, which Republicans supported in the past, and then
First
ran
day
away
in
from.
office, I think
Right,
he had a bill.
Exactly.
There are
right.
inter-party issues, but he had a bill.
But let's talk about what can be done, because this is Adams saying that Biden administration is leaving them high and dry. $12 billion annual deficit being put on this. A disproportionate burden being put on one city and one state. So how could you solve it absent congressional action? Well, there are two ideas that I think the Biden administration can and should do. One, there's a thing called temporary TPS, temporary protocol status. And that is something that can be applied to Venezuelans who are the first wave of these immigrants that would reduce some of the pressure. The second thing is start enforcing asylum laws on the books. Not everyone's a legitimate asylum seeker. You shouldn't just take them at their word. Some folks are coming here for a better life. That's a great American story, but it's not reflective of the reason asylum seeker laws are in place. So those need to be enforced more strictly. And then you should look at some of the work requirements, which are currently 180 days. Those things can be done without congressional approval. The Biden administration should be taking the lead and listening to Adams on this.
By the way, that's what a number of business leaders here in New York City and elsewhere are asking for on the work visas. So you've got that push as well, saying we need this. It would help our business and our economy.
There you go.
Thank you.
Policies.
Thank you very much.
So, I mean, the guy has a point. There's differences when you're seeking asylum on the books. When it comes down to it, you can't just be like, oh, it's okay. We don't care what your story is, why you're coming here, what you're coming here for, what the reason is that you're coming here. It's all okay. It's all okay no matter what. And we're just going to continue to allow the massive amount of people to come across. For us to continue to leave the border wide open like it is not going to be good in the long run, as we see the millions and millions of people that have actually come across the border in the last almost 3 years now. It's kind of scary to see. Biden can't launder money through migrants. He doesn't care. That's a tiny portion of what Texas is dealing with. I don't think that's just a Texas deal. I think that there's multiple states that are dealing with this, like we see from Eric Adams and his complaint through New York, having the same issue. I can't support your own. You can't support your own country while funding a war in another. There's an elephant in the fridge, but they want to change the light bulb to make it brighter. That's an interesting thought to go along with that. Not wrong. You're not wrong. For them to continuously try pushing to see what we can do to fix these issues is nothing. It's already happened. It's already happening. There's no issue that we can go by to change any of this. It's been done. It's been done. Now we have to deal with it. Now we have to deal with the mass amount of people that have come across. The only thing that we can do is to seriously seal off that border and stop them asylum seekers, quote unquote, asylum seekers, from trying to come across into this wonderful country that we appreciate it to be. The states are flooded, but New York is a tiny portion of the millions who've come through illegally. Yeah, exactly. It's a tiny portion because he's only squawking about 110,000, and not the multiple millions of people that have actually come across. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse, and we need to stop allowing this to happen. So then, as we're speaking of these quote unquote asylum seekers that just so happen to try wanting to come to this country, here you go. Outrageous Border Patrol agent reveals Biden regime gives $2,200 of taxpayer money per illegal immigrant, plus a plane ticket, housing, food, and free medical services. How much do we seriously? We gave $700 a piece to each person that was sitting in Lahaina, but $2,200 to each immigrant that comes across, plus plane tickets, plus housing, plus food, plus free medical services. That's tremendous. That's tremendous. And that's way too much. When you take $2,200, just that number, not all the other things, not the plane ticket, not the housing, not the free medical. Okay, or we could take it all and we could kind of try combining it all and say, let's just give it a nice round number, about $4,000, because it's not cheap for a plane ticket and it's not cheap for a house. Medical services are exorbitant. It's amazing. So let's be nice with $4,000, and you got millions of people that are coming across. You're getting into billions, almost trillions of dollars for each, or for this in whole, coming out of our pockets, us tax-paying citizens of the United States. But they are unwilling to go ahead and assist those people that came out of Maui or Lahaina or any other country or any other city that's United States citizens. They don't give a shit about us. A mighty woman with a torch whose flame is imprisoned lightning in her name, mother of exiles. Give me your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Send these to me legally. I see you put that on both sides. Close the border. If you don't file for asylum within 30 days, you automatically get deported. Yes, I'm in agreement with that one, for sure. So then here's the numbers. This is the sponsoring resettlement agency is responsible for placing refugees in one of the local affiliates and providing initial 30 to 90 day service after arrival. The Department of State Standards Cooperative Agreement with each of the resettlement agencies specifies the services the agency must provide. The Department of State provides a one-time payment of $2,375 per individual refugee to the local resettlement affiliates, of which $1,275 is available for agencies to use to fund the critical direct assistance needed of refugees, such as rent, food, clothing, and furnishings. The remainder of the per capita funds is used to fund delivery of services by resettlement staff, such as locating and preparing housing, cultural orientation, enrollment of youth in school, assistance with access to employment, medical and legal services, case management during refugees' first 3 months in their new communities. For the first 3 months, that's too long. That's too long. There's no way that you need to give them 90 days to go ahead and establish themselves. It's too much. It's unnecessary. On top of all the money that we're throwing at them to be okay, to allow them to seek asylum, it's really disgusting how far we've gone with this. I don't like it. I don't like it, and it needs to stop. New Jersey governor no longer wants illegal immigrants after abdicating for sanctuary state. Democrats are hating it just as much as any other when they see the mass amount of people that they can't afford to assist. Get a job, do what you must do. If you don't do it within a short period of time, get the fuck out. So then you go. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy has changed his stance on border policies after refusing to take illegal immigrants who proposed under the Biden administration scheme. Even though the governor had earlier insisted on building a sanctuary state, the Biden administration recently proposed that some of the 60,000 illegal immigrants in New York City could be moved to Atlantic City International Airport in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. The decision triggered a sharp reaction from New Jersey politicians. I don't see any scenario where we're going to be able to take in a program in Atlantic City and frankly elsewhere in the state. Mr. Murphy, a Democrat, said during a News 12 New Jersey's Ask Governor Murphy show. Another state not liking the issues that they backed. They backed that. That was their idea to say, yes, let's go ahead and do it. This is kind of hilarious to go along with all of that. Republican lawmakers propose slashing the Department of Human Services Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas' salary to $1. $1. Oh, that's Homeland Security. I'm sorry. To $1. The amendment of Homeland Security appropriations bill will be introduced in GOP reps Claudia Taney in New York and Chip Roy of Texas, as well as co-sponsors including Derek Van Orden, Jeff Duncan, Russell Fry, Scott DeGerles, Bill Posey, Carol Miller, Ryan Zinke, Harry Hegman, Beth Van Dyne, and Nicole Miliotakis. There's an awful lot of people that are on this bill that says a Homeland Security guy needs to be reduced to a simple $1 for his salary, for his failure to close that border, for his failures to close the border. Good, do it. Biden administration cancels 7 Trump-era oil gas leases in Alaska Arctic. So everything that Trump has ever done, every single thing that he's done, Biden administration has destroyed. They're like, nah, that's racist. Orange man bad. The Biden administration on September 6th canceled the 7 remaining oil and gas leases in Alaska's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge that were issued during the Trump administration. The leases canceled. The Department of Interior covers 365,000 acres of NWR. The NPRA, a $23 million acre area in the state's northern slope of the largest undistributed land, public land in the United States. The department will ban new leases in more than 40% of the reserves. The leases are suspended in June 2021 following Interior Secretary Deb Haaland order of 3401 due to multiple legal deficiencies and underlying record supporting of the leases. They don't care. They don't care about us. They don't care about anything. They don't care about the United States citizens. They don't care about anything when it comes to natural resources other than building ridiculous wind and or solar panels that are just that, made from fossil fuels, because they need those fossil fuels to do absolutely what they want them to do and only what they want them to do. Anybody else can pretty much fuck off, in their opinion. Manchin unloads in Biden's admin for restricting the Alaskan oil. This is Democratic West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin torched President Joe Biden and his administration Thursday for aggressive moves to curtail oil activity in Alaska. The Department of Interior announced Wednesday that 7 remaining leases, this is what we just read, were destroyed. This is yet another example of this administration caving to the radical left with no regard for clear direction in the Congress or American energy security. Manchin said in a press release, "Let's be clear. This is another attempt to use executive action to circumvent the law to accomplish what this administration does not have the votes to achieve in Congress." For them to continue to push against what is good for the United States or any other country, to go after our own natural resources, for them to destroy it, to remove all leases, to remove any abilities of becoming independent in any shape or form, they're against. Canceling vital leases, removing acreage of the future sales, and attempting to reduce production in Alaska while taking steps to allow Iran and Venezuela to produce more oil with fewer environmental regulations makes no sense and is frankly embarrassing. President Biden is delivering the most ambitious climate and conservation agenda in history. The steps we are taking today further that commitment based on the best available science and recognition of indigenous knowledge and the original stewards of this area to safeguard our public lands for future generations. That's what they care about. That's what they supposedly care about. They supposedly care about the future generations, but we're not going to have another generation if we continue to go ahead and not become energy independent. We're depending on so many other countries that are unwilling to support us. They don't support us. They don't support us in any way, shape, or form. We've seen it. We've seen it with the BRICS stuff. We've seen it where 40% of oil producing countries, or 40% of the oil produced in the world is already being used by BRICS, and they're going to go ahead and they're going to acquire another 40 and make it about 80. Tadpoles so fun. A Supreme Court schedules several controversial cases. We're not going to go through this one. I'll leave this tab so we can actually go through that in the future. Enbridge announces $14 billion deal to buy U.S. natural gas utilities. Okay. This is I'm not. There's certain things that I know I don't have time. There's just only 25 minutes left before we go over to Rumble exclusively. Federal judge issues 42-page ruling on floating border barriers. They're telling them to remove the floating barriers, the racist barriers that they put out in the water. The federal judge of Wednesday ordered the state of Texas to remove barriers from the Rio Grande, which Governor Greg Abbott had put into place to deter migrants from entering the state illegally. This should probably have been, a couple of stories before this, probably. Biden administration filed a lawsuit against Abbott in July. The 42-page preliminary injunction order Judge David Ezra, a Ronald Reagan appointee, directed the state to remove the barriers from the river by September 15th. They have so many days here to comply, remove the barrier, remove the barriers, stop disallowing people to flood into this country over the Rio Grande River. It's dumb. It's dumb. They put it there on purpose. They put it there on purpose, and for us to look at it any other way is ignorance. World Economic Forum demands powers to regulate public speech online. Who the fuck are you? Who are you going to tell us what we can and can't say? They're going to start regulating us even further through World Economic Forum, trying to tell us what we can and can't say. Klaus Schwab and his allies want to dictate regulators, social media companies, and other tech firms their definitions for what constitutes hate speech, misinformation, or disinformation. Who gets to choose what those are? Oh, you do. Oh, okay. Good to know. Good to know. Glad that you're the one that gets to pick and choose what is hate speech, what is misinformation, what is disinformation. But yeah, you totally should shut us down and make it be that we're not able to say anything in any way, shape, or form. There's some idiocy for you. Low wind generation prompts Texas power grid operators to declare emergency to avoid blackouts. Oh, low wind. I wonder why we're concerned about low wind and not having enough electricity. Oh yeah, we should totally depend on, always depend on wind power. Wind power. Wind always blows. It always blows, and we should never have an issue. And here we are. Wind's not blowing, and we have issues. Texas Power Grid Operator Electric Reliability Council of Texas declared the emergency Wednesday night amid late summer scorching temps. ERCOT manages electric power in more than 26 million Texas customers and represents 90% of the state's electric load. Temps soared into the triple digits in parts of Texas this week, once again straining the power grid. The wind turbines aren't producing enough energy, and solar generation goes offline at sunset. You don't say. We didn't ever know that. We had no clue that was going to be a deal. But we should totally cut out any and all coal fire plants, oil fire plants, and we should destroy them. We should destroy them and make everything just oh so good with solar and wind power. And we can see where that actually brings us. It goes into blackouts. It goes into blackouts where you have no power. With no power, what are we going to do? Oh, right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As United States citizens, it does not matter. We don't care about us. We don't care about us in any way, shape, or form. So dumb. I know I'm cutting through this pretty quick. And anybody that has any thoughts or opinions on any of this, go ahead and throw that at me. I'll try, keeping you involved as much as I possibly can. And I'm just going to kind of click a bunch of these out because we're looking at next 20 minutes. Oh, this was actually pretty sad. Here, we'll do this.
Plus, he was telling people the market was not overvalued, given where interest rates were, but he never bothered telling anybody that interest rates didn't belong where they were. So I'm highly critical of his performance.
Watching around.
Okay, I suppose I should have given you a little bit of leeway. So who this is? Who is this? So this is billionaire hedge fund manager Leon Cooperman nearly burst into tears Thursday over the future of America. When you look at this guy, it says, "I'm concerned about the lefties. They don't get it. he's going to actually say all this. And it does state that he was, maybe this is his quote, he does say this, I have 3 terrific grandchildren. I want them to understand the merits of capitalism, and I want to be capitalists with the heart. I want to see the system stay centrist. We have a very, very bad political system. He really seriously gets into this, where he came here from, or his parents came here from another country, and for him to see how capitalism has been improperly used or destroyed for what it was makes him super sad.
The other issues that we've talked about, energy. We talked earlier this morning about how energy prices are back up. Oil prices are back up because of what the Saudis are doing. Is that why you've invested in energy and believe in it? You think these prices are going to go up because of supply?
Yeah, I would say we're not replacing reserves at the rate we're producing. We don't have an intelligent energy policy. You know, we are not encouraging the companies to produce more. And I'd say between China ultimately turning on, travel coming back, and a failure to replace reserves at the rate we're producing them. And I also would observe the point we have to refill the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. I think the prices will stay up. I don't think they'll get away on the upside because, you know, Saudis are reducing production, which indicates there's plenty of supply around if they were to increase production. So I think the price of oil will probably stay in the 80 to 90 zone, not go much higher. But at 80, 90, these companies are coining money. They're making a lot of money. I think the energy price, energy stocks are discounting $65 a barrel oil. So a big position for mine, and I've owned it for a while, Paramount Resources. They produce oil at $31 a barrel. They're growing production at 15% rate. They own $5 per share in other energy companies that don't add to their earnings. They have no debt, and they have a 5.5% dividend yield, and they're generating cash well in excess of the dividend and capex. That's something I want to own. And $2 billion of stock is owned by the CEO and his family. So they have a real incentive. There are plenty of things you can find to do in the market. I just have to be patient. I'm short the S&P at a little bit higher levels, and I'm long a lot of individual stocks.
What other stocks are you long?
I would say that, well, I mentioned I own some Microsoft, which is expensive, not cheap. I own Apollo in private equity. I own Citigroup. I own Cigna. Enterprise Products and Energy Transfer, 2 high yielding here. I compare Energy Transfer, huge insider buying, stock yields over 9%. Why do I want to buy a government bond at 4% if I can get, a 9+% yield in something where I'm seeing management who is very smart buying the stock literally almost every day. You're seeing them, Kelsey Warren owns over 10% of the company, and he's no dummy. He's a smart guy.
You said Microsoft you own, but it's expensive. Why do you own it? Because it doesn't.
Well, I pay taxes. I pay taxes. I'm not looking to make the government rich. So, I'm not smart enough to go in and out. It's a secular grower, and I try to minimize my tax liability.
But that means you're not buying more at the moment if you think.
No, I'm not buying more at the moment. I'm buying very little. The only things I'm buying paying me to wait through a dividend and a meaningful stock repurchase program. I guess my most recent purchase I'm looking here is DT Midstream. Yields about 4.5%. And it's in the oil and gas distribution business, an excellent, well-run company that I think is potential takeover candidate.
Can we ask you about your book while you're here too?
Sure.
From the Bronx to Wall Street. It talks about what you've done over your life.
Yeah, well, I've lived the American dream, and I'm trying to convince people like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and AOC that don't move away from capitalism. Capitalism is the best system. I get choked up when I talk about it because basically, my father came to America at the age of 12 as a plumber's apprentice, no education. I went to public school in the Bronx, high school in the Bronx, college in the Bronx, and then I got a short stint at Columbia Business School, which opened the door to Wall Street. I started my career on Wall Street the day after I got my MBA from Columbia. I had no money. I couldn't afford to get vacation. I made a lot of money, and I'm giving it all back.
You're concerned about what happens?
I'm concerned about the lefties. They don't get it. You know, what made me write the book is I have 3 terrific grandchildren, and I want them to understand the merits of capitalism. And I want them to be capitalists with a heart. And I want to see the system stay, you know, centrist. We have a very, very bad political system. I said this in the last time it was the program with a sense of humor that basically is true. In 1776, the population of the United States of America was 2.5 million people. 1 million were women that didn't have the right to vote, and 250,000 were slaves that didn't have the right to vote. So 1,250,000 voting population found Washington, you know, Jefferson, Hamilton, Madison, etc. We now have 330 million population, you know, a big percentage which can vote, and we found Trump and Biden. You know, I have a minority view. I don't think Trump or Biden will be the candidates in 2024. I don't know if that's wishful thinking, but, you know, I think both political parties are lacking.
Who do you think will be?
Somebody's got to come out of the woodwork. Like Clinton came out of the woodwork, Obama came out of the woodwork. Who could it be? I don't know. Right now, there's no Democrat.
What do you think of this idea? And I'm card-carrying capitalist. I believe in it. But I worry, or I'm concerned that, you know, you look at polls in the United States, and most adults, I think it's 60 to 70% of adults with families and children, think that their children are not going to live a better life than they did. And I think that's very different than when you look at the polls probably in your generation at that time. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think about that perception?
Well, the question really is there alternative better? You know, we're the tallest midget. You know, and you know, or another way of saying it is, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. We're the one-eyed man. We're the best system. Show me a system that's superior to capitalism. You know, the people that I wrote the book.
I don't think that when we listen to what this guy actually says, we need to, you know, stay with capitalism. Capitalism is the best way to do things. The capitalism has always been thrust to the forefront of how things work, and for you know, somebody like Joe Biden to, you know, step in there and talk about this from the bottom up and the center out, with some ridiculous thought process to go along with it, to say that he's doing a better job than it ever has been, and we see it. We see that it's not working. We see that it's not working in any way, shape, or form. For us to walk away from capitalism and say, "Oh, capitalism's bad. Capitalism's racist. Capitalism's this, that, and the other," and it's not a good, you know, any way, shape, or form good. Really turns things bad. What's up, Lefty? Good to see you. You know, so when we see how things are evolving. And, you know, as he says, Biden's not the right guy. He even says Trump isn't the right guy. That there needs to be somebody else that comes out of the woodwork. And he uses Obama for instance, on somebody that came out of the woodwork, because nobody knew who he was. He became a senator. He became a president within a short bit. He came out of the woodwork, and nobody knew who he was really. They just seen this as Joe Biden's words, clean, articulate man that, you know, everybody seemed to you know, believe, because everything that came, he was so smooth with his words. It was so easy to listen to everything that he had to say. For us to believe that that's still true is not right. It's not right. There's no way in any that anybody should ever think that Barack Obama was a good president. He was trashed. He ruined our country. He's split up, you know, more than he created a racial divide that was pretty much non-existent at that point in time. He split it wide open and made it be a thing. Made it be a thing that we needed to talk about and speak about, for us to continue to think that he did a good job is indeed false. This guy wanting things to be better for his kids and can see that the future doesn't look as bright as it ever had been. is in my mind, being a parent, being a father that I am, and being able to see how this really is not ever going to be the same as what I ever remembered it be. We can't even allow. I remember running down the street at the age of 3 to go to the park with my brothers because it was okay. I couldn't imagine even in this small town allowing my son to go run down to the park by himself with all the other kids and be okay that he'll come back. No, you don't see it anymore. You don't. Everything's changed. So I'm I'm gonna to go with the guy's question. No. I don't think that the world's going to be anything better than it ever had been.
I never finished the point. 30 to 40% of the young people today in the country think socialism preferred to capitalism. Yet I look at all these people coming up from South America, risking their lives to come to America. They get it. And I want my kids to get it.
You think they do?
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah. Well, my oldest granddaughter, she's a genius. She graduated Stanford Phi Beta Kappa, works for the Low Income Housing Coalition. She's very liberal, very, very concerned about her fellow women. And I have debates with her, but I respect her greatly. I told her 6 months ago, there's a disgrace. They took a statue of Christopher Columbus and Thomas Jefferson down in New York, and they put a statue of George Floyd up in Newark, New Jersey, and who I consider a criminal. And her response, very intelligent response, was, we're not celebrating George Floyd for who he is. We're celebrating George Floyd because he sparked the movement. And so what's my rejoinder to her? I said, Winston Churchill said, if you're not liberal when you're 20, you don't have a heart. If you're not conservative when you're 30, you don't have a brain. She's 25, and she has a big brain. We'll see what happens. But, I'm a capitalist with a heart. I wrote the book. All the proceeds go to charity. I'm not keeping a nickel for myself. And I just want to keep the system straight. I've said in this program before, my hero is Ken Langone. And he's one of the great human beings out there. And I have a similar philosophy to him.
Well, Lee, we want to thank you for being here, sharing your thoughts on the market, and more importantly.
So, as far as that goes, I mean, it's very interesting to see this guy go ahead and spew his thoughts and his opinions on this as being something that we really need to look at, as the current resident of the United States is doing a horseshit job, and he's destroying it. He's destroying it for what it was. And it's sad. It's sad to see how far this has actually gone. Looks like in about 6-7 minutes here, we should be moving ourselves over to Rumble to watch the Trump rally out of South Dakota. That was the intent for the second part of the show. I'm going to do that here in a moment. I do want to actually share this, as he brought up some of the race relations that have been destroyed in the movement of what BLM had actually caused. So this is Vice Chair of Minnesota's Democrat Party, who advocated for dismantling police, gets violently beaten and carjacked. Far-left Minneapolis activist and victim of brutal armed carjacking that occurred in the driveway of her home on Tuesday evening. Shivinti Sathanadan, a radical leftist and second vice chairman of the Democratic Farm and Labor Party of Minneapolis, who was left bruised and bloodied during the incident, is called for accountability. Despite her past history of being a notable defund the police agitator, Sathanadan said in a Facebook post that she suffered a broken leg, deep lacerations to her head, and cuts and bruises all over her body when 4 armed juveniles allegedly beat her to the ground in front of her children and then stole her vehicle in broad daylight. Look at my face. Remember me. When you think about supporting letting juveniles and young people out of custody to roam the streets instead of holding them accountable for their actions, you could have been reading the obituary of me and my children today, Sathanadan wrote. But instead, I'm here to write this, she continued. Look at my face. These criminals will not win. We need to take back our city, and this will not be the last to hear of me about this. Thank you for the incredible Minneapolis 4th Precinct officers, Mayor Fry, Chief O'Hara, paramedics, neighbors, friends, and DFL family who all came to our aid during the terrifying experience. I'm so grateful for the community that wraps us in love. Sathanadan's commitment to her alleged brutal attack imply that she may have reversed course surrounding the previous advocacy to dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department. In June 2020, Sathanadan wrote in a post on Facebook, "We're going to dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department." Say it with me. Dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department. As allies of what we can do, what can we do right now? Listen and learn from the Black sibling, and then amplify this message right now, in this moment. MPD has systemically failed the Black community, that they have failed all of us. It's time to build a new infrastructure that works for all communities. If you still disagree with the basic fact, I'm not sure what to say to you. I'm proud of the radical leadership and organizing of Jeremiah Bay Ellison and Felipe Cunningham. If you live in Minneapolis, call and email your city council members and voice the support. If you don't live in Minneapolis, be loud. Spread the message, show the support now that the moment is for change. After Sathanadan shared the incident in her Facebook account, individuals flocked to the comments to ask if she regrets being in the forefront to dismantle the police department, which has left Minneapolis residents in increased danger. No one should have this happen to them. Children present or otherwise, not ever. Nevertheless, how could Miss Sathanadan not see this coming? Considering the efforts of her party, if you fight for lawless state, lawlessness happens in broad daylight. Sometimes you have to lay in the bed you made. You literally did everything in your power to dismantle the police. Now you're reaping what you sowed. She is directly responsible for this. She should resign in disgrace. According to the Minneapolis Police Department, Sathanadan's vehicle was recovered after being found abandoned. No suspects involved in the attack have been identified or taken into custody. Hopefully, incidents like this, as they occur to these people that fought for and defended this type of actions and these types of things to occur, will find out that, hey, the leftist Democrat bullshit that I've been pushing for over and over again isn't working. It's destroying people, it's destroying others, and it's allowing these juveniles to go ahead and run the streets, take whatever they want whenever they want, because there's no repercussions for them whatsoever. Zero. Go ahead, as she stated, go ahead, defund the police and find out what happens when there's no police to watch these kids as they destroy this country over and over again. What's up, the big white horse? Good to see you. So waiting for Right Side Broadcasting to start that stream up on their side. I'm going to take a quick glance at this to be sure that they're starting. It should be starting up within the next few moments. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go away from the YouTube side, because I know YouTube. I've dealt with YouTube too many times. I know exactly what they're about and what they do when it comes to anything that has anything to do with Donald Trump. I've gone through it several times. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this link from the Rumble side. Go ahead, go click on that link. Bring yourself over to the Rumble side. Bring yourself over to the Rumble side, and I will have other people joining me. Anybody that does want to join me, that thinks that they could have something to add to the conversation, hit me up through DMs on Discord. If you don't have Discord and don't have doing so, that just started. So now there, like I said, we're going to have a few people. Beautifully Inappropriate is going to join me for sure. I don't know who anybody else. If they want to, again, hit me up. I'll throw links at you. If you can't get into that Discord, there is a way to do so by hitting the community tab. As long as you have membership. If you don't have membership and you still want to get in there, at Koolfrogg on Twitter or koolfrogg@gmail.com. There's plenty of ways to reach out to me and get that link. Get that link. You can there's lots of things to go along with joining the channel. So joining the channel and getting the link that way, it may be the easiest way to do that, as membership does come with other exclusives. Thank you also very, very much for joining me on the YouTube side. I am going to shut that off. I'm going to shut that off on the YouTube side. And we're going to go ahead and go over there. Thank you all so much. Love you. And later to the YouTube side.
People aren't buying at CNN, you dumb bastards. They're not buying it.